And now, it's time for Ted Nugent's Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus. It's the physics of spirituality with attitude.
That's a really pretty song.
Hello, everybody. I have a spirit campfire, and I'm burning it for you. John, I think I should play this based on a gargantuan tsunami of requests who want maximum spirit flames fanned, and I think I can do it like this.
My Lord.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that's all you gotta
John,
say.
Can you tell I feel it? Can you feel that I feel it to a certain degree?
Yeah, you do. And for good reason. And here's what I gotta say. Ted, we have thousands of people logging on to Facebook. By the way, congratulations to Ted Nugent and all the Spirit Campfires for being the #1 most viewed video on Facebook. That is true. Ted Nugent, what are you, 72 now? The 72-year-old guy.
I've been playing since I guided Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea to the Northwest Passage. So I've been around a while. I got the scar tissue to prove it.
That's right. You're the guy that still has 12 blinking on your VCR. And you're the #1 guy on Facebook, the #1 human being in the world, the most watched live stream. And this is how it works. Everybody who's on Facebook right now, the algorithm works, but you got to like things. You got to hit the heart. You got to hit the thumb. That's how people are notified that the Spirit Campfire is going on, that positive energy is brewing up. Positive energy begets positive energy. And the more people that you tell about the campfire by hitting the heart, hitting the thumbs up, the more people who can tune in and continue. And Ted, who was #1 last week, we're looking to be #1 again this week.
Well, let's talk about why. Obviously, I didn't invent effervescence, but I perfected around 1959. But let's talk why I had the #1. I don't know how it works, but anytime I make any kind of impact, it's not me, John. I mean, yeah, I have a big mouth. I'm convinced that the founding fathers, as they beat the British punks back and told the king to kiss our ass, I think the founding fathers wanted all of us to be hellraisers. And if anybody's achieved status of hellraiser, it's yours truly. But let's talk about why and what that hell is that I raise. I raise truth, logic, common sense, not just truth, but self-evident truth. And the reason I attain any kind of accomplishment, obviously I have a work ethic and I have my priorities, being clean and sober, make sure that your gifts from God work efficiently. But it's the people. It's the shit kickers, working hard, playing hard Americans that are on here right now sharing this campfire with John Brenkus and Ted Nugent, and that are hitting those hearts, because I'm a cocky son of a bitch. I didn't invent cocky, but I perfected it in 62. Not when I was 62, in 1962. So cocky comes from a level of confidence, and dare I say, something that somebody can't give you. It's called self-esteem. And that confidence and that cockiness comes from a life of paying attention to my surroundings and the people that are around me, and determining early on, based on my wonderful dad's discipline, as perfected by my wonderful mother's loving, outrageous sense of humor, that I care enough to pay attention to John Brenkus, my co-host, to Dash, who's my technical wizard and just a great man, a great inspiration. Two perfect examples, like my wife, Shemaine, my sons, my daughters, my brother, my sister, my band, my crew, my management, Linda, everybody in my life, and the people that I bump into on the not-so-mean streets of America. Spirit Campfire, it basically is another term for the human connection. So I want to sincerely, on this, whatever this is, the 12th Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the unbelievable. We talk positive energy, John, and that's your specialty. Yep. And I thank you so much for, getting this organized for me and being willing to work with the Motor City Madman, because you might hurt yourself. I leave a vapor trail of eruptions, but ultimately you're a perfect example of the positive spirit and the energy that I saw at the feed bill this morning, that I saw down at the Ace Hardware, that, I talked to my buddy, that's an old 3030 Cimarron model 1894 behind me, and I train with the heroes of the military and law enforcement. I hang out with people that are so generous and giving to every imaginable charity. So anything I attain #1 or anything worthwhile is an accumulation of the Nugent spirit that is, if I dare say, the American, we the people, good family spirit. So thank you, everybody, for that. It means everything in the world to me.
Absolutely. And listen, you obviously have an incredible fan base that's lasted for 60 plus years. I mean, it's crazy. So you have fans who have been with you forever. And here's what's amazing to me in the chat room. There are a lot of people who are going around saying, "Oh my God, Ted Nugent's crazy, and Ted Nugent this and Ted Nugent that." Go into the chat room on Spirit Campfire. I can't find any trolls. Positive energy begets positive energy. There are nothing but people saying, "Thank God the positive." Literally right here. Here's James. He says, "Thank God the positive boys are back." You're being referred to as a boy at 72. Thank God the positive boys are back. This whole idea about love actually works. And love is this principle that when you love and you're giving more than you're getting, that works as a principle. The idea of giving of yourself, the idea that Ted Nugent doesn't have to sit down and do a Facebook Live with everybody and do a show and bring smiles to everyone's face. He doesn't have to play the national anthem. He doesn't have to go out and donate to charities. He's not going to do that, but he's giving more than he's getting. He's a guy that for a very long time has been like, hey, I want to give my time, my money, my talent, time, and treasure. That idea of love really works. And what I've been so impressed by with the Spirit Campfire is, Ted, you really set out with the vision of having a place of honest discourse, but most importantly, taking a break from the vitriol and the hatred and the venom that's being spit all over the place, and really parking on positive.
You know, and everybody knows that I'm a real we the people political activist, and politics in its purest form is merely we the people monitoring the performance of our elected employees and seeing if we can hold them accountable to their constitutional oath. You know, we could call this politics, or we could just call it a civil, what do they call that in school? Social studies? We're studying society. But, you know, and I always allude to this, at least briefly during the Spirit Campfire, that here it is, July 2020. Is today the 27th, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And I, in my lifetime, I've seen good, bad, and ugly. I was born in '48 after the ultimate good beat up and conquered the ultimate ugly of the Japanese emperor and the Nazis. So the positive glow of Detroit and America as I was growing up, you know, just absolutely augmented by this soundtrack by Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, and all this black emotion that created the greatest soundtrack in the world that inspired every musician that ever lived. I suppose you could say I was spoiled, except, do you know, John, I'll be 72 in December. Do you know, since the time, and I'm not exaggerating, from the time I could walk, I was disciplined to be an asset to my family. Even as a toddler, I had to learn to pick up my blankie. I mean, pick up your blankie. You don't leave your blankie. We're not picking it up. You pick up your blankie. And, you know, I would have to carry dishes from the table to the sink. And by the time I was 3 or 4 or 5, I was sweeping and dusting and raking leaves. I probably caused more damage to the lawn than I benefited in the raking process. Then I helped my dad and my brothers wash cars. So I was like all those great Americans in the asset column. And let me start the Spirit Campfire out. And I know I'm quite verbose because I have so many exciting stories. I wanted to buy a Gibson Birdland, which is what I play here. I got my first one in 1965 from Lyle Gilman, God rest his soul, just passed away last year. And it was $1,000. It may as well have been $10 million, because I might have had 49 cents to my name, even though I delivered newspapers and raked lawns and shoveled snow, and I'd make $1 here and $1 there. But here's a great story for everybody celebrating the Spirit Campfire tonight. In 1965, I saw this Gibson Birdland, blonde, beautiful, on the shelf at Lyle Gilman's Roselle School of Music. I had an Epiphone Casino. And the Amboy Dukes, I just started them the year before when I moved to Chicago. The suburbs. And Lyle was understanding enough, and I guess like you, John, he can read people. And he goes, I think this kid's serious. I put $50 down and gave him my Epiphone. Long story short, in order to pay that off, I went to a gas station one night to augment my income. And I was making $1 an hour for every hour I worked at this gas station. Well, I'd make $4 or $5 a night. But the first night on the job, I saw that the place was a mess. The islands where the gas pumps were filthy, and the oil cans were spilling, and there was grease everywhere. The floor of the gas station was a wreck. The windows were all smudged and dirty. All the tools had grease on them. So in between waiting on vehicles, even though there were 2 other guys, and the other 2 other guys, John, they were leaning up against the wall, smoking their old piece. They're smoking, and they're kind of laughing and ridiculing at me because when a customer pulled up, I'd haul ass out there, and I'd clean my hands off, so I gave them their change in a respectful manner. Clean, and I asked them if they wanted me to check the oil and wash the windshield. Then I'd haul back in and start cleaning tools and cleaning the bathroom and scrubbing the floor. Well, the next day, the owner came in, and he looked around, and he goes, "Who the hell did this? Who cleaned this up?" And I went, "I did, sir," as I ran out and waited on another customer. And he's watching me, and I could tell he had a little shit-eating grin on his face. And when I came in, he went, "Who told you to clean up like this?" And I said, "Well, nobody told me, but quite honestly, sir, it was a pigsty. My mom would never visit me here." So he said, "Well, you get 100% raise retroactive to yesterday." And the two greaseballs smoking their LPs up against the wall never did jack squat while I was there working. They went, "Hey, man, we've been working here a long time. We haven't got a raise." And the guy went, "Because you never do anything. You're fired." So here is a lesson. I didn't go to a school on Business 101. I didn't go and study a work ethic curriculum. I was disciplined and driven to make that extra few bucks to pay for my birdland. And let me tell you, if you can get a job at a minimum wage is for minimum effort. If you don't care, you got a frown on your face, and your job is 1, 2, 3, so you do 1, 2, 3. And you just show up, do 1, 2, 3. Well, if you would start being a little bit more buoyant and friendly and positive, and instead of just doing 1, 2, 3, you start doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't wait for him to ask you. Just do it. John, the Exxon Valdez wouldn't have crashed if I'd have stayed in the gas and oil business, because I wouldn't have hired a drunk. So there's a little Uncle Ted tech tip, quality of life, work ethic 101. Give the world the best you got every day. Take good care of yourself so you can be as productive. And when they tell you I need 1, 2, 3 done, don't just do 1, 2, 3. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you'll go up. You won't make minimum wage. You'll start moving up. Here I am today, 72 years later, and I'm a happy son of a bitch because I still attack every day. I carpe diem just like that every day.
Every day. And here's what I want to do in the chat room right now. I want everyone to write us just a little one-liner of what you felt was the worst job you ever had, but you stuck with it, you worked your way through it, and it led you somewhere. It might have been some awful job. Tell me your worst job, because I'm going to tell you my worst job that brought me to where I am today. My dad we lived outside of Washington, D.C., and he worked for the government. He was a career government employee, going from agency to agency, outfitting government agencies with this brand new thing called computers. And so he was the tech guy for the government. He would come home. My dad just, God rest his soul, he didn't like his job. He was just like, ugh. He said, "John, I got you a job for the summer, $8 an hour." This is in 1989. $8 an hour is a lot of money. The job was working in a printing room where there was one printer for the whole building, and it printed off giant stacks of paper, and it would go ding, and there would be a black line drawn every 10 or 20 pages. My job was to take that paper and to shred it one at a time, just rip it along the perforated edges for 10 hours a day, just ripping paper. I came home and I said, "Dad, I can't do this because all I'm doing is ripping paper. I can't do it." He said, "Son, there's a 0% chance you're not going to do it. You're going to do it." And I said, "Dad, I can't do this, but here's what's going to happen. I'm going to make a deal with you. I'm going to do this job that's tearing paper all day, and I promise you I will never work in an office ever again. I'm going to make movies. I'm going to make TV shows. I'm going to be in entertainment, Dad." So I did that job, then started a company out of the basement of my parents' house, went on to create sports science with ESPN, won 6 Emmys, wrote a New York Times best-selling book, kept going on and on and on. Ted, my wife and I even have a song that charted that was a Christmas song. We like I've had a 30-year career in entertainment, all because I hated my job of tearing paper, but I had to work through it. So I want to hear from everyone. Hey, tell me, what was your worst job? Because that's what makes you, are those moments where you're like, I don't want to do it, but guess what? You have to. You got to go through it to get to the other side.
That's a great story, John, and I think that's the essence of the Spirit Campfire, and that's why it says the physics of spirituality with attitude. You have to do some tough-ass, oftentimes pain-in-the-ass labor in order to pursue your spiritual dreams and your spiritual vision. But I got to tell you, even when I was washing toilets at that gas station and shoveling dog kennels and working in the yard and painting fences, I tell you, I was so focused on getting that guitar and being able to pay for my own guitar strings, my own amplifier, that I don't ever remember hating any of those jobs, because even though if you would have asked me then, what do you want to do when you grow up? I just want to play guitar. And I had no idea that someone would actually pay me to listen to me playing guitar, but I knew that I had to make a self-sufficient income in order to have the freedom to learn to play the guitar, which, by the way, was a real struggle for me. And a lot of people are asking me right now about the guitar. You know, it's not about the Gibson Birdland. It's about me experimenting with my Fender Duosonic and a big old Epiphone, and then the Epiphone Casino. And then witnessing Jimmy McCarty of Billy Lee and the Rivieras at the Wall Lake Casino in 1960. They eventually became Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. And I heard that Birdland through a Fender amp, so I knew that that was my calling. But some people are asking me, too, about what strings I use. I use GHS strings, 10, 12, 15, 24, 34, 44. I tune a half step down most of the time to give me a little bit more flexibility. I use thin picks like the old-fashioned Fender picks. They're real thin, but I don't use the pointed end. I use the rounded end with almost none of it showing. So what I've discovered over the years is that not just the plastic pick is hitting the strings, but the finger hits the string just infinitesimally before the pick, and then the thumb meat also hits the string. So when I smack a note, it actually has a bigger rounded, so I get more out of one note. I get a real fat, meaty sound out of it. And so that's a little musical Uncle Ted Tick. But, we're talking about inspiration and work ethic. I got to tell you, also on my Facebook, people are asking about Shemaine's book. This is Shemaine's book that I'm telling you, John, the emotional responses to Shemaine's book. Some people sometimes need an outside reminder and a little tip and a little confidence building and a little guidance. Shemaine's book has literally changed people's life, and I think the only place you get it at Amazon and all those other places, but also autographed copies of Shemaine's book are available at, you have to write this down, Old West Antiques at yahoo.com. Old West Antiques at yahoo.com. And I'm going to tell you another book that Shemaine and I both read by this great Senator Tim Scott. I'm telling you that he outlines what John just talked about pursuing your dreams and not settling for the status quo and the conditions of the era. This is a great American in the asset column. The name of the book is Senator Tim Scott, Opportunity Knocks. I don't owe him anything. I'm not getting anything. I just think it's a great guiding force for an American dream and a quality of life. Tim Scott's a great hero.
Absolutely. So, Ted, I want to read off some of the jobs that people have been writing in about. We got Doug Sawyers says, I was making 75 cents an hour baling hay. Chris Morley says, I worked in a slaughterhouse on the kill floor for 6 years to pay for college. Randy Sanford says, I was wiping stain in a furniture factory that ultimately led to a 6-figure job. I got Barry Thomas that said he worked in McDonald's for a single week until they told him to cut his hair. We have Carol Ann, who worked at Burger King as a kid kid and then said, hey, worked there for a year, and then went off and started her own restaurant. We have, the stories go on and on and on about working in a garage, mowing lawns. Like, who didn't mow lawns? When I try to tell my kids, I mowed lawns for $20 at a time and ended up buying my first 1984 Camaro. That cost me $4,700 with $20 lawns. And I'm like,
Which, by the way, John, if you bought an 84 Camaro, I shed a tear for you because they didn't have any horsepower by then.
They didn't. The horsepower
was gone by 1973. But I have a Hellcat out here that has a plaque under the hood that says custom made for the Motor City Madman with about 800 horse. So I have toys and I have land and I have a dream. But you know, this day and age, even though the damn tour was canceled because of the communist Chinese virus, I work as hard now as I ever have, and I'm not a young man anymore, but I have a passion for the things that I love, certainly the music, spreading the word, and communicating how to take this country back. So let me talk about that just briefly. If nobody gets anything else from this Spirit Campfire other than the great guidance from John Brenkus and Uncle Ted, you have to help cleanse America. Please go to huntthevote.org. Huntthevote.org. I believe in God, family, country, freedom, Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I believe in private property rights. I believe in holding government employees to accountability. Please register to vote in 2020. We'll get into the gory details at some point, but you all see what's going on. Go to huntthevote.org. We don't want any money. We don't want anything. We just want you to register. And the reason I'm so passionate about this, John, is because the military heroes and the law enforcement heroes and the first responders and their families, they are hurting right now because they see the Constitution. It's attacked. It's disregarded in many instances. So we, the people, have an obligation, an intellectual and spiritual obligation in the United States of America to participate in this sacred experiment in self-government. Huntthevote.org. And I believe if we, I can tell by the communication we're getting here at Spirit Campfire and every day in my life on Facebook, that people believe in God, family, country. Your God, family, country, freedom. And if you vote those guiding principles of the United States, we can turn this around and take it away from the terrorists and the Antifa and all those people that are burning down these beautiful cities. And that's way better than the alternative. So let's go to huntthevote.org. Now, I have a guest. John, I had quite a weekend. Every weekend is quite a weekend, but I was invited and humbled beyond description to come to New York by the request of the New York Police Department, because you see how their leadership in government, not the law enforcement leadership, but the politicians, they've literally told them to let the terrorists burn down the cities, that the terrorists have been attacking the policemen, beating the policemen, killing people. These are not protesters. These are anarchists and these are rioters. And the best way to overcome them is to contact your local police department, your sheriff's department, your state troopers, your elected employees, and let them know that without law and order, there's no American dream. Secure neighborhoods, safe streets are only a result of the heroes of law enforcement. We got a great friend on tonight. You think my buddy Clay is ready to rock here? We got from Louisiana, Congressman Clay Higgins, who is literally a revered hero of law enforcement down in Louisiana. And now as a congressman, he stands up for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, law and order. And after going to great effort and expense, we went to New York to go to a Back the Blue rally. What could be more perfect than Back the Blue? So we were on our way, and Greg Mosey, our buddy, I can't even begin to tell you how much money he spent getting us there in his beautiful jet. And we were all excited. I had my guitar and my amp. I had Congressman Clay Higgins with me and a bunch of patriots. All these New York police and their families were just excited, and I was being bombarded with thank you. We can't wait to see you. We need your positive words. And then the bureaucrats who we've witnessed side with the terrorists and the anarchists lately literally pulled out a criminal level of abuse of power and corruption and forbid us, they threatened us, if we land in New York to say thank you to the police, we would be put under house arrest and a 14-day quarantine. And after consulting with the leaders of law enforcement, they said that the Democrats in New York were so against, they even lied. They called me a racist and a homophobe and an anti-Semite. They didn't talk to my Jewish friends or my gay friends or my black friends. They just lied, vicious, false accusations. So the great Congressman Clay Higgins and I, we wanted to fight him. We wanted to defy and go in there, but we wouldn't be on Spirit Campfire right now, John. We'd be under the control of bureaucrats that obviously are against the police. So, Clay, thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your lifetime of law and order and revering your oath, your sacred oath to the Constitution. And here on Spirit Campfire, it's all about truth, logic, and common sense. Please share with the Spirit Campfire viewers your history, why you go to such lengths to demand constitutional accountability in every walk of life, and especially what happened this weekend.
Ted, God bless you, sir, and thank you for your continued devotion to the principles that made America great, that gave birth to this, as you call it, the great experiment. And our founders were courageous men and women that were imperfect in their own way, but driven by perfect intent to create this representative republic that we call America, and we're honored to serve. And as a congressman with a background in law enforcement, I was a cop for a long time. I never sought public office. I never ran for office until God sort of thrust me into service because our Lord and Savior has a tremendous sense of humor, and it was quite a demotion from captain to congressman. So here I am, 4 years later. I'm closing my second term in Congress and about to begin my third. And I'm telling you, man, it's a pit of vipers up there. I said when I ran that, it asked me, why are you running? I said, I'm not running. I don't run. I don't run from things. I'm descending into the belly of the beast to bring the constitutionalist spirit that beats within my heart, the patriot's blood that flows within my veins. And you know, my service is reflective of something greater than I am as a man. I readily admit, as we all should, that we are failed and fallen in some way, and yet we're redeemed by the blood of our Savior, and we serve. We live in a country that was anointed from birth, based upon this concept that the very best of mankind lives within us, and that redemption is a journey. It's not a destination. The founding words of our documents, or redemption on a man's wrist, the founding words of our documents include the words, in order to form a more perfect union. This is a humble recognition that we're imperfect to begin with. Our founders knew this. They were touched by God. America was born, and here we are 243 years later, where a congressman of humble origins, devoted to serve the people, a cop. I'm still a cop. I maintain my training, as I know you do, my friend. We're going to have that shooting contest soon, one day. And you know, a cop is not something that you do. It's someone that you are. It's something you believe in, and I'm no exception to that. So
what would you say? What would you say, Clay? You know, I've always identified that, you know, socialism and communism and Marxism, those are evil and rotten enough. They're just the curse of mankind. They enslave, they destroy, it's behind genocide. Nobody's ever had a happy day under socialism or communism or Marxism. But here we are in the United States of America. Where did you see the pivot point where Americans forgot that they have a duty to experiment individually in self-government that has facilitated this, in my lifetime, unprecedented divide? As a military guy and a law enforcement family guy down there in the bayou, did you see a point in time where people became apathetic and spoiled, and as long as they had NFL tickets and a six-pack, that they thought that's all they had to do? It really, apathy is a worse curse than communism, isn't it?
In my lifetime, I've seen this. It's my generation that has failed America. I'll be 59 in less than a month, and the nation that was turned over to me by generations past was a nation well on its way to a true brotherhood and unity. And we've been through so much as a nation in our history. When I went to school, high school, vehicles in the parking lot were, almost every vehicle was a pickup truck. I'm a country boy, went to a large public high school, and almost every vehicle had guns in it, hanging on the back glass, in the glove box, under the seat. We didn't have school shootings. When I was growing up in the 70s, I'm the seventh of 8 children. The average family didn't have health insurance. This was something that somebody that worked for the government had, or if you were a big corporation, but regular Americans didn't have health insurance, and we got along just fine. My family paid cash for health care, and it was affordable at the time. And when I began working my way through college in 1979 as a carpenter, I had carpentry skills. My daddy had taught me growing up on a horse ranch, as I did. You know what they didn't have on the houses that we were rebuilding, historical renovation? Ted, you know what houses did not have that were built about 100 years ago in a major city, Baton Rouge, Louisiana? You know what they didn't have? Locks.
That says a lot. There was a different spirit of community. You're talking traditional American family values, that God, family, country, freedom, independence, helping your neighbor, giving more than you take. So we go to New York at the request of the NYPD, who are really
We were headed there. And you were kind enough to stop and pick me up, and it was just hours before. Listen, this thing has been planned for a month, man. I was invited, and I felt that I had to take a knee and pray to God, say, is this right? Because I've been invited for 4 years to speak at big events, but I generally don't accept, because I didn't want to see it. I didn't want it to be seen as a political deal. But this is a special time in our country when law enforcement is under incredible threat. Man, city's on fire. Cops getting murdered by the scores. Government officials running to hide under their desks. It's insanity what's happening in areas of our country. So I felt that I should accept this invitation from the organizers of this event, which was to be the largest Back to Blue gathering in the country. And God put you on my path, and I thought, what could be more beautiful than Ted Nugent, a patriot of the highest order, to play our national anthem before I delivered a speech, which was based upon the written word in 1,483 pages of the King James Version. I knew the Lord would put the words on my heart to speak, and yet socialist elected local politicians in New York, career politicians, establishment guys, absolutely they reflect the worst. They represent the very worst of what America has to offer. They were so aligned as one force to stop that beautiful rendition of our national anthem that would just make us weep and feel proud to be Americans, that you were prepared to deliver. They were so dedicated to stop my speech, my keynote speech of love and respect and brotherhood and courage and strength and compassion and unity. They had to stop that, you see, because you and I, we don't fit their narrative. Their narrative is ugly and it's false and it's of Satan's lies.
And John, I got to tell you,
spread it across the country, and you and I were going to put a spear in the heart of it, and they had to stop us at any cost, and they did so.
John, I heard from hundreds and hundreds of New York cops and their families. They couldn't wait for Congressman Clay Higgins to get up there because they've been battered. They've been told, don't enforce the law, back off the riots. And then all of a sudden we were shut down. You can fantasize, but how could government officials, a governor and a mayor and a health department and senators and the Democrats up there, how could they side with legalized lawlessness instead of law enforcement?
Here's what I'd love to pontificate for a bit, and I think that this question goes far, far deeper than what happened this weekend. Because I believe in, first of all, Congressman Higgins, thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for upholding the law and being a law enforcement officer. Thank you so much for everything. But one thing, Congressman Higgins, that I think people lose sight of is, for whatever reason, whatever side of the political spectrum that you're on, and I've been listening to what Ted's been saying on the Spirit Campfire, and I honestly, this is what I believe. I believe that if we don't have a diversity of thought, if we don't have an honest exchange of ideas, and if we're not willing to listen to each other, and we're not really loving each other, when we keep asking, I happen to be Christian, my brother-in-law is Jewish, and my neighbors are Mormon, and I know tons of Buddhists, and I'm like
First Amendment. The First Amendment.
Exactly, First Amendment. Like,
what's wrong with that?
I think that we love everybody. And I think the idea of loving everybody is getting lost in the rhetoric that's sort of being spewed in. One side is calling the other side the devil, and the other side is calling the other side, a complete anarchist. And the in-between, I just cannot imagine that there aren't level-headed people from both parties, from both sides, who just literally love each other and simply civilly disagree. I just can't find them today, and I'm not sure what happened, because that exchange of ideas is worth its weight in gold. And I want to know from you, Congressman Higgins, I know, like, you're a devout Christian and you're a man who served. You have not been around people who only think like you. You have pursued careers that demand diversity. Talk to me about how important it is to have diversity of thought.
Well, we have to have a stage in order to profess what's in our heart, to be humble, to shed a tear with our fellow man, just out of deep respect and mutual love as children of God. To whomever you pray when you take a knee, I respect that. Our shared experience as just human beings and as American citizens and patriots is vast. I'm the seventh of 8 children, and my family reflects every shade of ideology, and yet we love each other, and we look forward to gathering. We have debates, and we disagree on this path or that regarding the future of our country and what is best, and yet we look forward to the next gathering. There's never a moment when we have hatred and vitriol towards each other, and this is a mutual American bond of love and respect I'm horrified to admit that from within the center of the belly of the beast in D.C., that bizarre realm where I now serve, I have witnessed a tremendous force that intends to destroy America. And I'm not standing against those men and women that are participating in that effort. As men and women, I stand against it by principle. And the only way we can overcome it, as Madison said in the Federalist Papers, he said that liberty is to faction as air is to fire. And yet none of us would argue for the elimination of air in order to extinguish potential fire. He said that we must be a greater faction. that liberty itself would give birth to factions or movements of citizenry within America that would, by their own design, destroy the very liberty that allowed them to be born.
Yeah,
to
Clay.
have a voice.
Clay,
and,
I can't.
And yet, so we must be a greater, more powerful, more reasonable, more focused faction. But we must have a stage. We must be able to speak and commune with each other. This is what was shut down in New York, and Ted and I talked about it, and we knew that the Lord would illuminate a path that we didn't see at the time. What we saw on Friday afternoon was abhorrent behavior by elected officials and career politicians that would destroy America from within.
Yeah,
and
Clay.
I have to say we are unified in our determination to overcome factions like that within America.
Yeah, what Clay's talking about, John, is that the Democrats saw that we were going to bring an opposing view. We're going to be peaceful about it. We're going to just show a morale boost for the heroes of law enforcement. That they safeguard the Democrats. They safeguard everybody. They don't ever ask you what your affiliation is before they save your life. They just save your lives. So what we were denied an opportunity to express what I believe is the John Brinkus, the family spirit of America. Thank you, cops. Thank you for your sacrifices and risks. So you're right, John. It is about an open exchange of ideas. That's what we were denied. So, Clay, I got to tell you, it didn't hurt Clay Higgins. It didn't hurt Ted Nugent. I mean, we were angry and let down, but ultimately it hurt the NYPD. So instead of 10,000 heroes of law enforcement and their families, they turned them away. They turned Clay and I away, and they had, I don't know, somebody said there was 1,500 people, and then politicians got up there. They didn't condemn the rioters, they didn't condemn the arsonists, and they didn't say thank you to the cops. So it was basically a joke. So Clay, I want you to know that I go to bed at night with a snicker on my face because there's guys like you out there. There are warriors. There are sheepdogs protecting the sheep against the wolves. So you and I are going to keep in touch because you're right. God has plans for us. And I think that the refusal of an open communication by Cuomo and de Blasio and the Democrats in New York, because they were all Democrats. Those were Democrats that called me a racist. They called me an anti-Semite. They called me a homophobe. I mean, I've been surrounded by blacks and gays and Jewish friends for 60 years, and we have campfires, and we break bread, and we celebrate freedom, and we make music. But the other side, they are drunk on hate, and it's almost like you can't penetrate it. So Clay, I want you to know that I am always here for you. I know for a fact that you are always here for me, and we will not give up. And we see what's coming up through the rest of 2020, and my battle cry is to get people who believe in God, family, country, goodwill, decency, freedom, the Constitution, the 10 Commandments, the Golden Rule. You have to register. You have to vote, or the people that hate all those things, they will conquer us. So, Clay Higgins, Godspeed. Our prayers are with you. It was great spending our time together. Next time, we're actually going to accomplish what we set out to do, thanks to Greg Mosing and Rockstar One Jet. And I just know that we have a greater calling, and I'm honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, Clay.
Yes, sir. God bless you, Ted. Thank you for allowing me to communicate this evening with your listeners, your followers. Just know that I'll leave you with a message of love and respect. The word of our Lord in Corinthians, and Paul told us to place not your faith in the wisdom of man, but in the spirit and power of God. Our calling is greater than the evil that would oppose us and that would devour America from within. We are stronger because we stand upon love. And this is our driving force. They can't beat that, man. They can't. You know, it's like undefeatable. We're bonded by love and respect and an American patriotic spirit. And just thank you for allowing me to communicate and share with you this evening. I look forward to shoulder battles with you in years to come. It won't end well for the other guys.
I have a feeling. Well, I got to tell you, Clay, that is ditto for the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire. I know that those words of love and unity represent John Brenkus and I think everybody on the Spirit Campfire tonight. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sign out. I have homework to do. And God bless you one and all.
Right.
Godspeed, Clay.
Godspeed. So,
that was a great perspective. You know, John, we've had Hellraisers, Billy Gibbons and Tim Montana, and we've had Ricky Medlock, and we had the damn Yankees on here. We had Greg and Jason. We had Vic Johnson. A big musical outrage. But we have to be sure that we don't get drunk on all that easy, fun stuff. We always have to maximize the good by identifying the bad and ugly, uniting and working to either fix it or overcome it. And I think that's what Clay Higgins represents. And I got to tell you, that's what everybody I know represents.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and this is what's interesting in terms of what I hear. I mean, everybody knows where Ted Nugent stands. Everybody knows where Congressman Higgins stands. But dare I say, look, this is what I feel. I feel like it's the art of rhetoric has kind of like gone out the window, and it's turned into like the art of war with words. It's like crazy. And I don't think, and this is my opinion, I believe that we all love each other. I believe that. I believe humans are good. I believe this country is great, not just good, but great. And I believe it's been great, and it's constantly molting and evolving. And we're in like this almost unrivaled period of time of not listening to each other. And I really don't. I honestly think that when people say, "Look, it's just the Democrats," or "Look, it's just Trump. Look at what they've done," I feel like it's the rhetoric itself is too extreme, and we're not just taking time to sit and listen. And I do think, look, I think that there are look, the people who are rioting and doing crazy stuff and breaking laws. I don't think there's anybody who's like, you know what? I haven't heard anybody who's saying I support that. I hear people who are trying to defend, backwards rationalize it. But but if anybody is breaking a law, you're breaking a law. I think that the idea of love is really strong. And Ted, one thing that I want to bring up is when you talked about huntthevote.org. You didn't tell people who to vote for.
No, I'm not. No, it's about choice. But let me make a statement. You don't love Antifa because they burnt down Seattle. And the mayor of Seattle did support them. The mayor of Portland did support them. Mayor de Blasio supported the Black Lives Matter rioters in New York. So yes, love will overcome, but we're not going to overcome Antifa. You're not going to sit down and have a glass of wine and some donuts with Antifa or Black Lives Matter or MS-13. Remember, John, Nancy Pelosi actually got angry at President Trump for calling the Antifa gang, the people who battle cry is rape, torture, murder. He called them animals. They're animals. Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Democrat Party, said that they're decent souls, that there's redeemable qualities about the people that rape and torture and murder. So be very careful you don't try to pet the lion or you'll end up without any hands. So I'm all for peace and love through superior firepower of intellect, goodwill, and positive spirit.
All right. Well, we're gonna leave it at. Listen, I think the golden rule of treat those, the way that you want to be treated, love everybody. I think those are good. Those are certainly good rules to aspire to.
Now, if we can just get Antifa to do that, yes,
exactly. Well, I think let's kill them with kindness. Let's love everybody. Let's love them. Ted, we've got a gazillion. We've got thousands and thousands of comments. You have to. Let's lighten up the atmosphere here, and let's play something that everybody can say, you know what, I'm really glad we tuned in to the Spirit Campfire, because not only did I get a great, honest, fair exchange of ideas, but I got to hear Ted Nugent play something that I wouldn't have otherwise heard him play.
Now, I think I can get the beast of the birdland to scream for you, and I'll back it down so you can hear the lyrics of this love song. All my songs qualify as love songs, especially Cat Scratch Fever, and of course, Wang Dang, Sweet Poontang, and Motor City Madhouse, and Raw Dogs and War Hogs. But one of my greatest appropriate 2020, summer of 2020 love songs would be Dog Eat Dog. And let me sing those lyrics. And again, this song, I didn't write it. I didn't sit down and go, I wonder what key I should write a song. I wonder what I should
You put that down
about.
like it's silly.
I literally sat down and I went, sabotage on downtown street. Police cars overturned. You can't do nothing to beat that heat, 'cause if you don't, you'll get burned. See women behind every door. It costs more than you got. Let's pay up if you want some more. But if you don't, you get shot. Dog, dog, doggy, dog. 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 Dog, dog, doggy, dog.
Nice. Well done.
It's a love song.
Hey, we got just updating you really quick. We got Scott Common who says Spirit Campfire is the only program worth watching on Facebook or anywhere else. Jim LD says thank you, Ted and John, for the positive energy. Listen to that, Ted. Positive energy tonight and always. We got Lee who says, listen, if I was in charge of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Ted Nugent would be inducted. I would happen to agree with that.
I think this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I think it is. Who needs the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when you have a Spirit Campfire?
Let me go over a couple other things. People have been asking me, they go, you ought to write a book. I've written 3 New York Times bestsellers. I've written God, Guns, and Rock and Roll, Ted, White, and Blue, and Blood Trails, The Truth About Bow Hunting, and the Nugent Manifesto, and Kill It and Grill It. But I also, John, I write for a whole bunch of publications. I'm starting to write, The Dogs Love Me. I'm starting to write now for Hook and Barrel magazine. I write for Texas Fish and Game. I write for Outdoor Guide. I write for Texas Hunter's Journal. I also write for a number of sporting publications. And if people want to find out about that stuff, because I'm a hardworking guy, I write articles all the time. I'm writing a new book right now called Ted Nugent's Spirit Warrior. And I just want to celebrate what we do here on the Spirit Campfire. And that's positive energy and the sacrifices and risk and the work ethic that put each of us in the asset column so that everybody around us benefits from our effort, our work, our productivity, our ideas, and our positive spirit. So John Brinkus, thank you for helping create the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire, the physics of spirituality with attitude. And if people want to find out about all this kind of stuff, they should go, first of all, to Uncle Ted 2020, where I'm going to be giving out a free guitar. Is it called a webinar? Is that what it is?
Webinar. Yep.
Where I'm going to be giving a Ted Nugent guitar lesson. We're going to be doing those extensively in the future, along with the Spirit of the Wild, bow hunting, marksmanship, outdoor conservation, resource stewardship, healing powers of nature that have brought me such joy, such quality of life. When I got home from this crazy weekend, first thing I did is I got the dogs and I went down to the river and we skipped some stones and I checked out some of the habitat and I put out some feed for the wildlife and I planted, I think people were asking about this. I plant this stuff wherever I find moist ground. You just take this, it's made by Primos, it's called Takeout, it's called Spread and Sprout, and I'm telling you, you throw the seed, you don't have to have a tractor, you throw this Spread and Sprout seed everywhere, and about 6 days later, the turkeys and the rabbits and the groundhogs and the deer and the birds and the squirrels, they're all over this because it's like custom nutrition. So those little hands-on resource stewardship conservation lifestyles, I'm going to tell you, no matter how crazy the world gets, it goes away when you're working outdoors. So maximize your time in the great outdoors and let the spirit of the wild cleanse your soul.
Absolutely. So listen, everybody, I see a lot of comments, people saying, thank God for the positive energy. Just remember this. When you turn on the news, regardless of what, honestly, I believe this. When you turn on any channel, turn on Fox, CNN, MSNBC, you just hear some horrible stuff. Yeah. Like you hear horrible stuff from a different point of view. Don't let it get you down. Just watch the Spirit Campfire. Smile, listen to some music, go outside, exercise. I keep asking Ted, this is true. I keep asking Ted, hey, did you see that movie? And Ted's like, I don't watch movies because my life is better than a movie. Like,
my life is better than movies. I wait for Mrs. Nugent to come out of the shower.
Easy.
I sneak a peek. I sneak a peek through the side door.
Stop it. We're going to get ready to cue the
And then I go, isn't this hip nibbling season?
Easy. All right, Herbert, let's wrap it up. We're getting out of here. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
All right. God bless America. God bless the military heroes and their families, law enforcement, the first responders, and God bless working hard, playing hard, shit kicker America. I love you with all my greasy Motown heart and soul.
All right, man. God bless everybody.
Good stuff, John. Thank you, man.